Word count seemed 40 words. Hi, I'm Cassandra Lewis. I'm 32 years old, and last spring, my life changed forever. I found out my own parents had stolen over $570,000 from my accounts, money I had saved over 10 years, money I earned by working long hours, investing carefully, and living below my means. Why did they do it? To save my younger brother Ethan, the golden child, the one they've always protected, the one who could do no wrong. But here's what they didn't know. Those accounts were fake. The money wasn't real. I had set a trap, and they fell for it. This is the story of how I caught my own parents red-handed. The people who raised me. The people who always said family comes first. But what they really meant was, Ethan comes first. I grew up in Westport, Connecticut. It's a wealthy town. People there care a lot about appearances. Big houses, private schools, clean lawns. On the outside, my family looked perfect. My dad, Harold, was a successful corporate attorney. My mom, Diana, ran an interior design business from home. Inside, we were far from perfect. From the time I was little, I knew one thing. Ethan was the favorite. He was 5 years younger than me, and no matter what he did, my parents made excuses for him. When I got a science kit as a birthday gift, my mom said, "Let Ethan play with it too." I said no. I knew he'd break it. He did, and guess what? He got a hug. I got a lecture. When I was 16, I worked all summer at the local library. I saved $300 to buy a laptop I needed for school. My parents took that money to buy Ethan a video game system, even though he had just failed 3 classes. He needs motivation, my dad said, but I was the one working, studying, planning my future. Still, they treated me like I didn't matter. The final straw came when I got into Brown University. I was so proud. My grandparents had set aside college funds for both me and Ethan. I was sure the money would help me go. 2 months before school started, my parents sat me down. "We need to talk about your college plans," my dad said. Then they told me my entire college fund was gone. They had used it to send Ethan to an elite private high school because public school wasn't working for him. I was crushed. "What about Brown?" I asked, my voice shaking. "You're smart," my mom said. "You'll figure it out." That night, I made a decision. I would never rely on them again. I deferred my college admission. I worked 3 jobs. I applied for scholarships. I took out the smallest loans possible. I went to Brown a year later and graduated with a 3.9 GPA in economics and financial math. I got a great job in Boston working at a financial firm. I lived modestly. No fancy cars, no big apartment. I saved and invested everything I could. While Ethan bounced from job to job, business to business, failing over and over again, I quietly built real wealth. But every time I saw my parents, they had the same question. How's work? How are your finances? They weren't asking out of love. They were planning something. I could feel it. So I made a plan of my own. I knew if I really wanted to protect myself, I needed more than just savings. I needed proof. Proof of what they would do if they saw money in front of them. So I started building fake accounts. Not totally fake. I opened them under my name at real banks, but I put just a little money in them. Then I created fake statements, beautiful official-looking PDFs that showed over $570,000 in savings, stocks, and investments. I even designed a fake portfolio with companies like Amazon, Tesla, and Apple. I made it look like the kind of account someone like me working in finance might really have. Then I started dropping hints. "I've been managing a few portfolios," I told my mom over the phone one Sunday. "Portfolios, as in plural?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, "just spreading things out, nothing major." At my dad's birthday party, I left my laptop open on the kitchen table. On the screen, a spreadsheet, showing those fake accounts, with balances totaling $570,000. My dad saw it. "Wow, Cassie," he said, "you're doing very well for yourself." I smiled, trying my best. They took the bait. They had no idea that the real money, the actual wealth I had built, was hidden away in secure institutions with multiple layers of protection. Then, Ethan had another crisis. This time, he tried to start a cannabis distribution business. He said it was the next big thing. My parents believed him. They co-signed a $500,000 loan for him. 6 months later, the business failed. The partners vanished. The money was gone. And suddenly, my parents were on the hook for over $500,000 in debt. That's when things got strange. My mom started calling me more. My dad began asking innocent questions about investment strategies. They wanted to visit me, stay the weekend. That never happened before, and I knew why. They had seen the money. They had a plan, and so did I. The weekend my parents said they were coming to Boston, I pretended to be excited. "I'll set up the guest room," I said on the phone. "It's just for one night," my mom added quickly. "We know you're busy." "Totally fine," I lied, looking forward to it. What I didn't tell them, that I had security cameras installed in my apartment, hidden, motion activated, and linked to my phone. And that I'd be in Chicago the entire weekend, speaking at a financial technology conference. I wasn't actually going to be there when they arrived, but I had left everything exactly as they hoped to find it. My main laptop was open on my desk.
The fake spreadsheets and PDFs were right there on the screen. My Wi-Fi was left on. The passwords were easy. I even put a fake password reminder sticky note under the mousepad, just like the careless daughter they thought I was. They walked into my home on Friday evening, and by Saturday morning they were stealing from me. The camera in my office caught everything. First, my dad sat at my desk. He tapped the mouse, waking the screen. He looked around. Then he called my mom over. "This is what I told you about," he whispered. "Look at this." They stared at the spreadsheet, and then he opened my email. He scrolled, stopped, clicked. They found a fake document labeled Private Retirement Portfolio. It was password protected, but only with something simple, Cassie 123. They got in, and there it was, accounts totaling $570,992, a perfect trap. I watched later, as my mom covered her mouth and said, "She never told us any of this. Why would she hide this?" My dad replied coldly, "Because she doesn't trust us." She was right. That evening, they left early, telling the doorman they had a family emergency. What they really had was a plan. 2 days later, I got a call from my bank's fraud department. "Miss Lewis, we're calling to confirm a requested wire transfer of $135,000 from your investment account to an account under the name of Ethan Lewis." My blood ran cold, even though I was expecting it. "Decline the request immediately," I said. "Flag the account and freeze everything tied to that profile, because here's the thing, the real accounts weren't under my name, the fake accounts were." And now I had proof. Legal, clear, undeniable proof that my own parents had tried to rob me. I waited 2 days before calling them. My mom picked up. Her voice was cheerful, too cheerful. "Hi, honey. We had such a nice time seeing you. Your apartment is just beautiful." "Oh, really?" I said. "Funny. I was in Chicago." Silence. "What do you mean?" I said slowly. "I have your entire visit on video." Click. She hung up. The next morning, I got a call from Ethan. He was furious. "What kind of sick game are you playing, Cassie?" "A game," I said calmly. "You mean the one where your parents steal money from me and try to give it to you? They said you owed them." I laughed bitterly. "I don't owe them anything, and they owe me an explanation, maybe an apology, but I doubt I'll get one." He started yelling again, saying I was cruel, that I was tearing the family apart. But the truth is, they tore it apart years ago. I was just showing them what it looked like from my side. I thought about going to the police. I had enough evidence to press charges for attempted theft, fraud, and even identity manipulation, but I didn't. Instead, I did something worse. I told the truth. I contacted the rest of our extended family, our aunts, uncles, grandparents, and sent them a private message. "Hi, I hope you're well. I'm reaching out because something serious happened. My parents attempted to take over $130,000 from me using fake banking credentials. I have video proof. I'm not taking legal action yet, but I want to make it clear. I can no longer trust them, and I will not be in contact for the foreseeable future. If you choose to side with them, that's your decision, but please don't ask me to stay silent about what happened. I've been silent for 32 years. The responses came slowly, but they were stronger than I expected. An uncle replied, "We always knew something was off. Proud of you for standing up." A cousin messaged, "Cass, you've always been the strong one. Sorry it took this long to say it." Weeks passed. My parents didn't call. They didn't text. Not even on my birthday. But I was okay, because for the first time in my life, I didn't feel trapped by their approval. I felt free, and I wasn't alone. I began connecting with other people online who had been betrayed by their families. Some were disowned after coming out. Some were manipulated into giving away their life savings. Some were guilted into raising their siblings like second parents. I realized I wasn't an outlier. I was part of a silent generation of family survivors, and maybe it was time we spoke louder. Because family doesn't mean obedience. It doesn't mean sacrifice without return. It doesn't mean loving people who only show up when they want something from you. Family, real family, is chosen. It's the people who respect your boundaries, who cheer for your success, who love you for who you are, not what you can give them. I might have lost my parents, but I found something more important, myself. 3 months passed, no calls, no texts, nothing. Not from my mom, not from my dad, not even Ethan. At first it was a relief. The silence felt like peace. I stopped checking my phone nervously. I stopped wondering what they wanted from me next. But then came the strange part. I missed them. Not the manipulation, not the guilt, not the favoritism. I missed the idea of family. Sunday brunches, holiday traditions, someone to call when I had good news. But when I looked back at the actual memories, not the ones I wanted, but the ones that happened, those good times were always wrapped in strings. Like the Christmas when I gave my mom a necklace she'd mentioned months earlier. She opened it and said, "Oh, that's sweet, but it's not the gold I usually wear." Or the Thanksgiving when I made a homemade pie from scratch, and she took one bite, then pushed her plate away and said, "It's a little dry." Or the time I got promoted and tried to share the news, and my dad said, "That's great, Ethan just bought a drone. He's thinking of starting a travel vlog." They never saw me. Not really. Only what I could give. Only what I could fix. Only how I could help Ethan. So when they finally broke the silence, I was ready. It started with an email from my dad. The subject line said, "Family meeting?" Inside the message, "Cassandra, we know tensions have been high, but we think it's time we sit down and clear the air. Family is too important to throw away over misunderstandings. Let us know when we can meet in person. Dad." I read it 5 times. Then I hit delete. Because there was no misunderstanding. They knew what they did. They just didn't think I'd catch them. The next message came from my mom. This time a handwritten letter, folded carefully, sent by mail. Dear Cassie, we miss you. I know we've made mistakes. I know we've hurt you. But we're still your parents. We love you. Ethan is going through a rough patch again. He's moved back in with us. I know you're angry, but please, let's talk. Families argue, but they don't stay broken forever. Love, Mom. There it was again. The real reason they reached out. Ethan. Still failing. Still crashing. Still falling. And still expecting me to be the cushion. I showed the letter to my therapist. She looked at me and said something I'll never forget. You're allowed to love people, and still walk away from them. It hit me like a lightning bolt, because I did love them. Deep down, under the pain. But I couldn't keep bleeding for them. I couldn't be the glue while they kept breaking everything. I had rebuilt my life without them once already. Now I just had to keep going. I started traveling more, not running from anything, but going where I wanted, when I wanted, without guilt. I went to Portland and drank coffee in bookstores. I went to Colorado and hiked trails in total silence. I went to Los Angeles and danced barefoot on a beach at midnight. I laughed louder, breathed deeper, and for the first time in years I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I wasn't wondering if I was enough. I knew I was.
Around this time, I started talking to other people online who had gone through similar things, adult children of narcissists, people who had been used, manipulated, or made to feel invisible by the people meant to protect them. I wasn't alone. I was part of a very large, very quiet group of survivors. We shared our stories. We lifted each other up. I made friends with a woman named Mia from Texas. Her parents took out credit cards in her name when she was 19. A guy named Drew from Michigan told me his mom stole his identity to pay off her boyfriend's car. We weren't broken. We were wiser. And we were done staying quiet. So I made a decision. I started writing everything down, every moment, every betrayal, every silence that should have been support. I turned it into a blog, then a podcast, then a speaking event at a financial empowerment conference. People reached out. They said, I thought I was the only one. I feel seen. You gave me words I didn't have before. And just like that, the thing that almost broke me became the thing that built me. I haven't spoken to my parents in over a year now. They still live in Westport. Ethan still lives with them, and I've heard through cousins that the old story hasn't changed. They say I turned cold, that I chose money over family. Let them. I don't need to defend myself anymore. The truth stands on its own, because here's what I know now. Family is not who shares your blood. Family is who sees your value, your heart, and your boundaries and respects all three. I don't hate my parents, but I don't need them anymore. I have peace now. I have power now, and I will never give that up again. Some people think healing feels like fireworks, like loud victories and celebration. But the truth, healing is quiet. It's closing your front door after a long day and realizing no one is waiting to criticize you. It's waking up on a Saturday and knowing you don't owe anyone your time, your money, or your peace. It's deleting an email from your mother without crying this time. That's what real freedom feels like. It's not flashy, it's not dramatic, it's just calm. And that's what I had built for myself. Finally, I kept getting letters from them. Some apologetic, some manipulative, some pretending nothing happened. But one thing never changed. Ethan was always the reason. My mom wrote once, "You're doing so well. Wouldn't it be nice to help your brother build something too?" And that was it. Right there. The truth I had been trying to ignore for years. They didn't love me for me. They loved the idea of me, the helper, the fixer, the backup plan. And when I stopped playing that role, they didn't know how to see me at all. That realization hurt more than I expected. Because for so long, I thought if I just achieved enough, if I just worked harder, proved myself more, showed them I was valuable, they would love me the way I needed. But some people love control more than connection. And once you set boundaries, you become the enemy. Around this time, my therapist said something that stayed with me. You're not healing for them, you're healing for you. That hit deep. Because I was still looking backwards sometimes, still hoping they'd say something real, something honest. But that apology, that true moment of accountability, it never came, and it probably never will. So I had to let go of the wish version of them, the version I built in my head, the parents I wanted but never had. And once I did that, everything opened up. I started mentoring young women in finance. Some of them reminded me of myself. First-generation college grads, dealing with toxic family ties, trying to stay strong in male-dominated spaces. They asked me things like, how did you stay motivated when no one supported you? Did you ever want to just give up? Yes, absolutely yes. But I also told them, when no one cheers for you, you learn to cheer for yourself. And when you do, no one can take that power away. I spoke at 2 women's conferences that fall. At the second one, after my talk, a girl named Alyssa came up to me. She had tears in her eyes. My mom took out student loans in my name without telling me, she said. She said she'd pay them off, but now I'm the one being chased by debt collectors. I took her hands in mine, I looked her in the eyes, and I said, you are not broken, and you are not alone. What they did is not who you are. She cried harder, and in that moment I knew everything I'd gone through had a purpose, not just to survive, but to help others do the same. Later that night, as I walked back to my hotel room, I opened one last letter from my parents. I had let them pile up in a shoebox in my closet. This one was handwritten by my father. It read, Cassandra, we raised you to be strong, but we didn't realize how strong you'd become. I still believe family is everything, but I understand now that we may have lost you. If you ever decide to come home, the door is open. I stared at those last 5 words. The door is open. But here's the thing. I wasn't trying to get back in. I had already built my own home. And the doors in my house, they lock from the inside. There's this quote I love. I saw it once on a park bench in Portland. Sometimes the family you're born into breaks you, so the family you choose can help rebuild you. And that's what I was doing now. Choosing peace over guilt, joy over duty, truth over tradition. And you know what? It felt good. It felt earned. People often ask if I forgave them. The truth? Yes and no. I forgave them for not being who I needed. But I didn't forget and I didn't return. Because forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it just means I'm no longer letting this poison me. So that's where I was, 32 years old, living in Boston, running my own advisory firm, helping other women protect their futures the way I protected mine. Was it the life I imagined? No, it was better, because it was mine. Every inch of it built by me. And no one could take it away. 1 year after I caught my parents trying to steal $570,000, I stood in front of 400 women at a financial empowerment summit in San Diego. I had just finished telling my story about Ethan, about the fake accounts, about the trap I set, and the silence that followed. And as I looked out into that audience, I saw something I never expected. Nods. Tears. People mouthing the words, me too. It was one of the most powerful moments of my life. Because for the first time I realized this story wasn't just mine anymore. It belonged to all of us. Afterward, a woman in her 50s walked up to me. She held my hand and said, my daughter doesn't talk to me anymore. And after hearing you, I think I finally understand why. She didn't cry. She just looked tired. But there was honesty in her eyes, regret, clarity. And for the first time, I thought, maybe stories don't just heal the broken. Maybe they also wake the ones who did the breaking. But I didn't tell my story for revenge. I told it because I didn't want to carry it anymore. Because silence had been killing me slowly, year after year. You see, people like me, we don't explode. We fold. We shrink to keep the peace. We stay quiet to keep the love. But that love, it's conditional. Be useful. Be obedient. Be small. That's what they really mean. But the moment I started saying no, the moment I grew too big for their control, I became selfish. But here's what I've learned. Sometimes selfishness is survival. I'm still single. People always ask me if I'm scared to start a family of my own. I used to be. I used to think I'd repeat the cycle. But now, I know better, because I've already broken it. By choosing truth over image, by setting boundaries, by saying that was not okay, even when it made people uncomfortable. That's how the cycle ends. Not with a scream, but with a quiet refusal to keep pretending. A few months ago, I saw Ethan on Instagram, still chasing the next big thing, still wearing flashy clothes he probably didn't pay for, still talking like the world owed him something. I felt nothing. Not hate, not love, just distance. And in that distance, I found peace. Because some people don't grow, some people don't learn, and you don't have to follow them down every hole they dig. I still get messages from my parents. Every few months, one of them tries to break the silence, usually around holidays, just thinking of you. We miss you. Can't we be a family again? But I know what they really miss. Control. They don't miss me. They miss the version of me who didn't say no, who didn't call things what they were, who didn't set traps and catch them. So here's what I want to say to anyone out there who's walking away from their family, who feels guilty, lost, or alone. You are not the villain. You are the one who finally said enough. You are the one who chose peace over patterns, freedom over fear, truth over tradition. And that is brave. More brave than anyone will ever understand. You're not too sensitive. You're not dramatic. You're not cold. You're clear. You're done. You're rebuilding something better. This world tells us to forgive and forget, but I say remember and grow anyway. Don't carry bitterness, but don't rewrite the story to protect people who hurt you either. Own it, name it, and walk forward without shame, because shame isn't yours. It belongs to the people who broke you, not to the one who survived. And if my parents ever hear this, I don't hate you. I just don't follow you anymore. I built a life without you in it, and it's beautiful, it's quiet, and it's mine.